My husband died suddenly. At the reading of the will, his family sat with smug smiles. I was left with nothing. Everything goes to the bloodline, his mother, Evelyn, purred, her eyes gleaming with cold satisfaction. I just nodded, a calm mask over a churning storm within. Then I opened a folder, thin and unassuming, but packed with years of their undoing. "This is Mia," I stated, my voice cutting through the hushed room like a razor. "She's your brother's daughter." DNA test enclosed. His mother gasped, a sharp, choked sound. His sister, Cassandra, clutched her chest, her phone clattering to the polished floor. They lunged for the file. I pulled it back, just out of reach. Turns out the bloodline runs through me after all. My name is Alara, and the world had gone grayscale the day my husband, Ben, passed. We had been together for 10 beautiful years, building a life, a home, a quiet sanctuary in the heart of the city. He was my rock, my laughter, the steady anchor in my sometimes chaotic life. For months, he had been fighting a relentless illness, a silent predator that slowly, painfully, stole him from me. During those long, agonizing days, his family, the formidable Evelyn and the perpetually critical Cassandra, were conspicuously absent. Their calls were sporadic, their visits even rarer, filled with thinly veiled judgments about my care for Ben or the state of our home. It wasn't until the whispers of legacy and estate began to circulate that their presence intensified, transforming into a suffocating, unwelcome cloud over our grief. They never liked me. From the moment Ben introduced me, a graphic designer with a penchant for vintage dresses and a laugh that was perhaps a little too loud for their refined tastes, I was an outsider. Evelyn, matriarch of the family, with her impeccable silver coif and an air of aristocratic disdain, had always found me too emotional, too unrefined. Her words were always delivered with a polite smile, but her eyes, cold and sharp, cut deep. Cassandra, Ben's younger sister, a perpetually self-absorbed socialite, echoed her mother's sentiments. "She's only after the house, the money," she'd sneer to mutual acquaintances, words that inevitably found their way back to me, stinging like wasps. The irony of her accusations was breathtaking. Barely a week after Ben's quiet, tear-filled funeral, when I was still navigating the raw, jagged edges of my grief, Cassandra had the audacity to ask, with a casual flick of her perfectly manicured hand, if she could have the guest room, since it was going to waste now. My husband, barely in his grave, and they were already carving up our life. Ben knew their true nature, had always been a shield against their barbs, but he was fiercely loyal to his family, caught between his love for me and his ingrained duty to them. He never spoke ill of them, but his weary sighs after their phone calls spoke volumes. I often wondered why he tolerated their cruelty, why he couldn't see them for what they truly were. But love is complicated, and family even more so. I pushed down my resentment, tried to maintain peace for Ben's sake. After he passed, that shield was gone, and I felt utterly exposed, vulnerable to their circling vultures. They were closing in, and I knew, with a bone-deep certainty, that the will reading would be their final strike. The week leading up to the will reading was a perverse dance of performative grief and barely concealed greed. Evelyn would call daily, ostensibly to check on me, but her questions were always thinly veiled probes about Ben's assets, the status of our accounts, the market value of the house. "Have you looked at the property taxes yet, dear?" "They're quite high for that area," she'd murmur, her voice dripping with false concern. "Such a large house for just you now." Each conversation left me feeling physically drained, my grief a secondary concern to their financial calculus. Cassandra, meanwhile, continued her passive-aggressive intrusions. She'd text me pictures of furniture she liked from online listings with captions like, "This would look so good in the living room once you downsize." Downsize? My home, the one Ben and I had built together, painted, painstakingly renovated room by room, filled with our memories, was now just a property to be flipped, its contents to be pilfered. I saw the looks from other family members, the distant cousins and aunts who had genuinely loved Ben. Their eyes held pity, a silent acknowledgement of the storm I was bracing for. They knew Ben's family, knew their reputation. Their quiet sympathy only underscored my isolation. I spent my days walking through the house, touching Ben's things, remembering his laughter echoing in these very rooms. His worn armchair, the bookshelf overflowing with his beloved first editions, the kitchen island where we'd cooked countless meals. This was our life, our home. The thought of them stripping it away, piece by painful piece, fueled a cold, quiet anger that slowly began to eclipse my sorrow. I felt a surge of protectiveness, not just for myself, but for the sacred space Ben had created. The day of the will reading dawned cold and gray, a fitting reflection of my mood. I showed up in a simple black dress, a testament to my mourning. My hair was pulled back tightly, my face devoid of makeup, a stark contrast to their ensemble. His family, on the other hand, arrived bedecked in their finest jewelry, pearls gleaming, silk rustling. Evelyn wore a diamond brooch that glittered under the fluorescent lights of Mr. Harrison's prestigious law office. Cassandra sported a designer handbag and a look of expectant triumph. They sat across the polished mahogany table from me, their faces a mixture of solemnity and thinly veiled impatience. Evelyn occasionally shot me a brittle smile, a predatory gleam in her eyes, as if she already held the victory in her perfectly manicured hands. I could feel their collective gaze on me, weighing me, dismissing me. They anticipated my despair, my meek acceptance of whatever crumbs they might allow me. Mr. Harrison, Ben's longtime family lawyer, cleared his throat, adjusting his spectacles. He looked deeply uncomfortable, his gaze flitting between me and the expectant faces of Ben's family. He opened the thick, leather-bound folder. According to the last will and testament of Mr. Benjamin Sterling, he began, his voice formal, measured, dated 2 years prior to his passing. A faint ripple of satisfaction went through Evelyn and Cassandra. This was good for them, an old will. The estate will be divided among the next of kin, specifically the bloodline. My heart clenched. Bloodline. That word was a knife. I looked confused, genuinely so, though I tried to maintain my composure. But Evelyn didn't. She didn't even try to hide her satisfaction. A slow, cruel smirk spread across her face, her eyes narrowing slightly. He must have updated it recently, she purred, her voice loud enough for Mr. Harrison to hear, a pointed dig at me. Said he didn't want gold diggers touching his legacy, didn't he? Always so sensible, my Ben. Cassandra snickered, a small, vindictive sound. Their words, intended to wound, instead ignited a spark. A cold, hard resolve solidified within me. They thought they had won. They thought they had erased me. Mr. Harrison, clearly perturbed by Evelyn's interjection, continued reading. As he recited the meticulous list of assets, the sprawling family estate, the investment portfolios, the substantial trust funds, my name was conspicuously absent. Not a single mention. Not a penny, not a share, not even the house I had helped renovate, the one I had poured my heart and soul into. The house was now legally part of the estate, destined for the bloodline. I didn't speak. I didn't flinch. I felt the hot prick of tears behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not now. Not in front of them. My hand, steady and deliberate, reached into my large handbag and pulled out a manila envelope, thin and unassuming, yet heavy with purpose. The air in the room grew thick, heavy with their silent triumph. Evelyn clasped her hands, a gesture of pious victory. Cassandra subtly checked her phone, already planning how to spend her newfound inheritance. They thought I was broken, defeated. They expected tears, a plea, a pathetic outburst. But beneath my quiet exterior, a storm of fury raged, controlled, disciplined. My mind, usually prone to anxious spirals, was now razor-sharp, focused. Every insult, every slight, every dismissive glance, every cruel word they had ever uttered had become fuel, hardening my resolve. This wasn't just about money, not anymore. This was about respect. This was about justice. This was about standing up for myself and, most importantly, for the truth. My fingers brushed against the smooth paper within the manila envelope. The weight of it was immense, the culmination of months of quiet work, of painful secrets, of a burden I had carried alone, protecting Ben's last wish. I remembered Ben's pale, drawn face in the hospital bed, his voice weak but firm. "Ilara," he'd whispered, gripping my hand, "I need you to promise me something. Protect her. She's family. My blood." He had seen this coming, had known his family's true colors. He had planned for this with me. The anger that had festered within me, the feeling of betrayal, now crystallized into a powerful, unwavering resolve. This was my moment. This was Ben's moment. This was Mia's moment. I pushed back my chair, a slight scrape against the polished floor. All eyes turned to me, some curious, some annoyed. "Before we finish," I said, my voice clear and steady, cutting through the smug silence, "I have something to add." The room shifted. Evelyn frowned, a flicker of irritation crossing her face. Cassandra rolled her eyes. Mr. Harrison looked up, surprised, his brow furrowed with mild concern. He hadn't expected this. No one had. I reached into the envelope, my movements slow, deliberate, each action a silent statement. I felt their eyes boring into me, expecting nothing, dismissing me. Their underestimation was my greatest weapon. I took out a photograph, a small, vibrant picture of a little girl no older than 7. Her eyes sparkling with mischief, her smile wide, revealing adorable dimples. Dark, curly hair framed her face. The room held its breath. Evelyn scoffed, a dismissive wave of her hand. Cassandra leaned forward, curiosity momentarily overriding her disdain. "This is Mia," I said, my voice gaining strength, resonating with a quiet authority that stunned even myself. "She's Ben's daughter. From before we met. Her mother passed 2 years ago." A collective gasp swept through the room. Evelyn's face, usually so composed, contorted into a mask of disbelief, then fury. "What is this nonsense, Ilara?" she shrieked, her voice cracking. "Anyone can find a child and say it's his. This is a despicable trick." Cassandra stood up, knocking her chair backward with a loud thud, her face pale. Mr. Harrison's eyes, normally impassive, widened perceptibly, his gaze fixed on the photograph. I ignored their sputtering outrage. I reached into the folder again, my movements slow, methodical, building the tension. I slid a thin stack of papers across the polished mahogany table towards Mr. Harrison. Inside, neatly organized, a certified copy of Mia's hospital birth records, clearly listing Benjamin Sterling as the father. A sheaf of faded, handwritten letters from Ben to Mia's mother, filled with heartfelt concerns about Mia's upbringing, small details about her first steps, her favorite toys, signed with his familiar flourish. And finally, a pristine, certified DNA test report, dated just 6 months before Ben died, explicitly confirming a 99.9% probability of paternity. A heavy silence descended as Mr. Harrison, his hands trembling slightly, picked up the documents. He meticulously reviewed each one, his eyes scanning every line, every signature. His face went from surprised to astonished to a dawning, grave understanding. He cleared his throat, the sound unusually loud in the tension-filled room. He removed his spectacles, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Well, based on these documents, specifically the birth certificate, the personal correspondence, and the certified DNA test result," he began, his voice slow and deliberate, "Mia Sterling qualifies as a direct heir to Mr. Benjamin Sterling's estate. In fact, since she is a minor, her legal guardian would manage her assets until she comes of age." Evelyn slumped back in her chair, looking as if all the air had been sucked from the room. Cassandra's phone slipped from her nerveless fingers, clattering loudly on the floor unnoticed. The house? The substantial accounts? The high-value shares? All legally destined for Mia. And since Mia was a minor. I looked up, my gaze locking with Evelyn's, then Cassandra's. My voice was quiet, almost a whisper, but it resonated with an unwavering steel. "My guardian rights were approved by the family court last year," I stated, recalling the painful, yet ultimately empowering, process. Ben asked me to adopt her when his cancer worsened. He wanted to make sure she was taken care of, legally, by someone he trusted. By me. He had known, had seen their greed coming. He had protected Mia, and by doing so, he had protected me. all mine on Mia's behalf. Every single thing they had so eagerly anticipated seizing, now irrevocably beyond their grasp. Evelyn's face turned ghastly pale, a sickly white. Cassandra, her mouth agape, looked like she might actually faint. The other family members present, a few aunts and uncles, stared, some with shock, some with a flicker of understanding, perhaps even admiration. The lawyer simply nodded, a slight, knowing smile finally appearing on his lips. His discomfort had vanished, replaced by a sense of professional satisfaction. A stunned silence hung in the air for a full minute, heavy with disbelief and utter defeat. Then, Evelyn found her voice, a high-pitched, almost hysterical shriek. "This is a lie. A fraud. She's not real. You forged these documents, Alara. You scheming, manipulative gold digger." Her face was blotchy, contorted with a fury so potent it made her tremble. Cassandra, snapping out of her stupor, lunged across the table, trying to grab the folder from Mr. Harrison's hands. "Give me that. This is a setup," she screamed, her voice shrill with desperation. Mr. Harrison calmly pulled the folder away, securing it against his chest. "These documents are all certified, Miss Sterling. Any attempt to tamper with them would be a serious offense." He then looked directly at me. "Miss Hale, your duties as Mia's legal guardian now include managing her substantial inheritance until she reaches maturity, as per Mr. Sterling's wishes. The estate will be transferred to a trust managed directly under your legal guardianship." I didn't argue. I didn't gloat. There was no need. Their faces, pale with shock and blazing with impotent rage, were all the vindication I needed. Their silence, the crushing weight of their defeat, was far more satisfying than any verbal victory. I calmly stood, picking up my handbag. I nodded once to Mr. Harrison, a silent thank you. Then I turned towards the door. The keys to the house, now undeniably Mia's and therefore mine to manage, felt heavy and right in my hand. I walked out in silence, the soft click of the office door closing behind me, sealing them in their bitter, humiliating defeat. They chased me to the parking lot, their desperate shouts echoing in the quiet city street. "She's not real. This is fraud. We'll see you, Alara. You'll never get away with this." Evelyn, her perfectly coiffed hair disheveled, stumbled on the curb. Cassandra, tears streaming down her face, looked utterly undone. I reached my car, opened the door. I didn't argue. I didn't engage. I simply turned, held up the DNA test report so they could clearly see the bold letters, the irrefutable numbers, and said, my voice cutting clear and strong through their frantic accusations, "Turns out the bloodline runs through me after all." Then I got into my car, started the engine, and drove away, leaving them standing there, frozen in their impotent rage, staring after me like ghosts. The silence of my departure was deafening. Life after that day was a profound transformation. The legal wrangling continued for a few more weeks as Mr. Harrison meticulously handled the transfer of assets, dealing with Evelyn and Cassandra's increasingly desperate, but ultimately futile, legal threats. Each time they tried to challenge the will or my guardianship, Ms. Ramirez would present their attempts as further evidence of their malicious intent, strengthening our position. Eventually, they gave up, defeated, their public reputation tarnished by whispers of their greed and the undeniable revelation of Ben's secret daughter. They ceased all contact, melting back into their privileged, but now isolated, circles. Their toxic presence was finally, definitively removed from my life. Mia integrated seamlessly into our lives. She was a bright, joyful little girl, full of curiosity and a love for storytelling. I had met her briefly with Ben before he passed, but now she was truly mine, my daughter, my responsibility, my joy, my entire family. Bringing her into our home filled the emptiness Ben's absence had left, a new chapter blossoming from sorrow. The house, no longer under threat, felt like a sanctuary again, a home where Mia's laughter, not tension, filled the rooms. The substantial inheritance provided a level of financial security I could only have dreamed of. It meant I could pursue my own passions, volunteer more, and ensure Mia had every opportunity imaginable, a future free from the shadows of betrayal. The entire grueling experience taught me invaluable lessons about trust, about the deceptive, predatory nature of some relationships, even within one's own family, and most importantly, about my own profound, untapped strength and capabilities. I reflected constantly on the naive, grieving young widow I had been. That woman was gone, replaced by someone stronger, wiser, fiercely protective of Mia, and utterly self-reliant. I had learned to trust my instincts, to question everything, and to stand firm in the face of adversity. I had fought a silent war, armed with truth and strategy, and I had won. I thought about Ben often, a deep ache in my heart, but also a sense of peace. He had protected Mia, and by doing so, he had protected me. His foresight, his quiet strength, had given me the tools to fight back. My dignity and self-worth, once chipped away by Evelyn and Cassandra's cruelty, were fully restored. The positive impact on Mia was immeasurable. She saw her adoptive mother stand tall, fight for what was right with quiet dignity, and emerge victorious against seemingly insurmountable odds. She was growing up in a home filled with love and security, a testament to justice. We had rebuilt, not just our finances, but our spirit, our confidence, and our future with integrity and an unbreakable bond, just Mia and I. If you've ever felt trapped, silenced, or profoundly betrayed by those you trusted, especially family members who should have had your back, know that you are not alone. My story is a testament to the power of knowledge, quiet planning, unwavering resolve, and the courage to reclaim what is rightfully yours. Don't let anyone diminish your worth, steal your peace, or hijack your future. Educate yourself, seek expert legal counsel, and never, ever underestimate your own inner strength and ability to overcome. If my story resonated with you, if it sparked a flicker of recognition or hope, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to my channel for more stories of triumph over adversity. And tell me in the comments below, have you ever had to fight for what's yours when it seemed like everything was being taken away? How did you uncover the truth and stand up for yourself or your loved ones? Your experiences and your strength can empower countless others. I didn't scream. I didn't fight with theatrics or public outbursts. I just outread, outplanned, and outlasted. And the profound, liberating silence of my hard-won victory was the sweetest sound of all.